Good morning. Welcome to part 3, coronavirus. It's on what you can control, what you can change, and that starts with building a garden, storing food, and get prepared. Have something like this yet, and you have the ability to because you do have land, then you really should be fixing that. Talking specifically about self-resiliency, I'm going to actually talk about your sphere of influence, your sphere of control, and maintaining your mental compass during these hard times. So stick around. So the US just passed China and Italy around 8 o'clock last night for the number one most number of cases worldwide. Just understand that this has a whole bunch of reasons for it, including increased testing. And that testing numbers and confirmed cases are wildly inaccurate right now. However, what it does show you is that there is a lot of infected people with coronavirus walking around, and I think it's still reasonable to expect that 2 orders of magnitude more people out there who are potentially asymptomatic just walking around, who have coronavirus in their lungs, who are walking around infecting people, but their immune system's actually fighting it off. But they're contagious and they're infecting people. And this is why we should be staying at home. So what can you do besides sitting in your house in your TV reading about coronavirus and freaking out 24 hours a day, spinning your wheels in the mud and not actually getting anything done? So your sphere of control is everything that you have in your life that you can actually control. Your sphere of influence extends to everybody and everything in your life that you can influence and change or modify their sphere of control. This is really all that we can do in any given situation to actually drive results, drive change, and actually accomplish something meaningful. So while it's good to be aware of this, it's also not good to dwell on it because there's nothing you can do to impact this besides what you should be doing anyways, which is staying at home. So focus on what you can actually do and not worrying about this. Worrying about this gets you 0 results. It does not get you anything meaningful. Building a garden or shoring up your preps will get you very meaningful results. So focus on the stuff that you can drive in your sphere of control. This is my garden. This is where I grow food. This is where I grow the annuals. If you don't have something like this, but you have land, and you're sitting there binging Netflix, binging YouTube, even just watching this video, and you don't have something like this yet, and you have the ability to because you do have land, then you really should be fixing that. I have grass to garden guides, which I'll link. I can teach you step by step how to build a new garden. If you are at home and you are quarantined and you don't have a garden, but you have the ability to grow one, you should fix that as a very high priority. There's no reason not to. It adds tremendous amounts of self-resilience and self-sufficiency. You could plant calorie crops such as Jerusalem artichokes or potatoes, and you could have food that is going to become available to you at some point, a couple months from now, when the rest of your food runs out. So if you're watching this and you don't have this, but you can do something like this, stop watching this video right now, or at least stop this video, go check out my grass to garden guide and build a garden today. Stop watching Netflix, stop worrying about what you're going to watch, and fix that issue right now. You should also be taking stock of your current mental state. If you feel panicked and you feel worried about coronavirus, you have to walk away from it and you have to focus on what's going on in your life in quarantine. You have to enjoy the parts of your day that you're actually allowed to, to spend more time with family, FaceTime with them. Social distancing doesn't mean social dislocation. In fact, they've actually changed the terminology from social distancing to physical distancing, just to kind of drive that point home. We shouldn't be isolating ourselves from each other right now. We should be coming together, just physically isolated. But if your mental state is such that you're panicking, you can control that. You have to take control of your emotions, and you have to drive action. You have to ensure that you are prepared, you have a nice pantry, you can survive the storm. It's going to get worse before it gets better. We're still on the exponential rise despite multiple countries locking down. Canada and United States are particularly looking really bad right now. So this could be a long haul thing, and you should reevaluate again your sphere of control. What can you do? You can shore up your preps, make sure that you can get out of this, but you also have to take and be cognizantly aware of your mental state. And if listening to coronavirus stuff constantly is making you stressed out, then you got to stop, walk away from that, and focus on the tasks that you can do to execute the procedures and protocols that you can build in your life, such as if things get bad, nobody goes out alone. Talk about this kind of stuff. You go out in pairs. How do you tell people where you're going, when you're going? Where would you go if there's rioting or looting that happens in your area? And I'm sure that these aren't really helping with your mental state if you're already stressed out, but you should have a plan. Because if you don't have a plan and stuff starts happening around your area and people start looting and rioting because they've run out of food and things are getting worse, you should already know where you're going. The people you love should already know where you're going, where you're meeting up. You should have backups on where you can go, whether that's people who you know who live in another city, or it's just places that you know that you could go. Even if it's a campground or something like that, a hiking trail, it doesn't matter. You should have a plan for how you can get out and where you can go if stuff gets bad. But for the most part, focus in the next couple weeks on maintaining your mental state, being prepared, taking control of your emotions, and developing plans, being calm, rational, and logical about the things that you do. And if you don't have a garden right now and you don't have a pantry, you need to fix those, because it's looking like it's going to get worse before it gets any better. Okay, here's my hilarious seed starting tray. An area. I've started way more tomatoes this season than normal, and I'm going to plant out more tomatoes this season than normal. The reason why is because I can stock up on rice and noodles no problem. I can only fit so many cans of tomato sauce and that sort of stuff in my pantry. If I need to, and I'm probably good for about 6 months or so. By the time, and this isn't panic buying, I'm always in this state of having roughly 3 to 6 months of food on hand at any point. However, when that runs out, if I have to go longer than 6 months, I want to have tomato plants that I can build and make as much sauce and freeze it as possible. And at the same time, forgive the mess, I don't usually show this area, but we have 2 deep freezes plus a fridge and freezer, and as well upstairs. So we are stocked full of frozen vegetables, fruit from last year. Tons of tomatoes still, but they're going to run out before these next tomatoes come in. So I want to make sure that I have a lot of sauce so that I'm not just eating plain rice and plain noodles if it comes down to it. This is just conscious, thought-based prepping to make sure that you're ready. You have to take control of your sphere of control and do the things that you can do. Here we're in the garage, and typically I believe in what Jack Spirko says about grow your nutrients, buy your calories, and that works typically, but you should also grow your calories. So for example, we still have Jerusalem artichokes in here. These things are very calorie dense, not as much as potatoes, but they're still very calorie dense. We have a bunch of carrots in here still. This is very dark, I'm sorry. It's still very early outside. And then we have 2 more bins of these still, and we've been eating them all year. These ones aren't even touched yet. You're not going to be able to see in there. But we have 2 bins. So we have basically 3 bins of Jerusalem artichokes that we can still get into and eat. Won't be the best meals, just Jerusalem artichokes, rice and noodles, but we could survive. This is why you make a garden. And this is why even just putting wood chips down, sheet mulching right now, and then planting in the fall is a good idea. When I was saying it a year ago, it would be really good for those people who actually listened and did this, because you would have food in your garage right now. And the thing is these disruptions in our life are not going to stop happening. They hopefully will give us a bit of a break for a while, but these kind of things can happen at any time. And even COVID-19 can pop up again in the fall. And if we don't have a vaccine ready, there could be another major disruption when the second wave of COVID-19 hits, COVID-20 or whatever. So you should be building a garden right now. It's very soothing and relaxing, so it'll help with your mental state. But you should be building a garden so that you can have more food self-resiliency for in times of crisis like this. I really hope this video is catching people the right way, and that people aren't looking at this as me saying, look how prepared I am, haha, and making you feel bad if you're not prepared. What I want to do is I want to drive fuel under your butt to get yourself up. Stop watching Netflix and build a garden. Do it right now. You have to be self-sufficient and prepared. We can't rely that the infrastructure that we depend on can't be the only backup that we have in our life for our own survival. You know, we have 2 cars. People will even have a 3rd car in case they need it. We build redundancy into other aspects of our life, but for our very survival needs, sometimes we don't. So fix that. Build a garden, get water storage, start storing food, but focus right now on your mental health. Get that under control, get your emotions under control. Focus on what you can control, what you can change, and that starts with building a garden, storing food, and get prepared. Like I said, start right now if you don't have a garden. This is the perfect time. You got all the time in the world. Get going on that. All right, we'll come back tomorrow with more common sense preps, showing more of the pond, and the video that I cut out yesterday. It got to be about 30 minutes, so I wanted to cut that out. And then I'll include it on the next video. Be safe out there. Get prepared. And stay happy.